This is the second tape of dealing with the Psalms. I hope you took a look at the first one, because I'm not going to repeat a lot of things that I said before. There I dealt with Psalms 1, 2, and 4. And like I said, I'm picking out parts of the first 42 Psalms, whatever happens to catch my interest here, and what seems to basically allow me to make my points here. So whether I'm using or abusing the Psalms, that's up to you to decide. But here I go. Now I'm up to Psalm number 5. All right? And I'm picking out 1, 2, 3 sentences in this one. First sentence is Lo yit yatsavu hololim leneged einecha saneta kol poalei avin. Literal translation is the gestures, the fools, will not stand up before einecha, your eye, which is a key word, your eye. Sanita kol poalei avin. You hate all workers of doers of evil. Okay? Now, like I said, I'm using the tools of Gestalt therapy, Kabbalah, philosophy, and the performing arts to probe the possible meanings that these people might have put into these Psalms 2,500 years ago. And I'm not claiming they did put them in there. It's quite possible that I'm just reading this stuff into it right now. But anyway, here I go. So what do we mean by the eye of God? It says here that the fools and the jesters will not stand up before the eyes of God, since God hates the doers of evil. Now, in Gestalt work, working on 3 hours on a dream or whatever relationships you're dealing with there, at the end of 3 hours, it's quite possible you'll have some kind of a moment of explosion into strong emotion. Could be anger, grief, orgasm, joy. Those are the 4 major ones, according to Fritz Perls. And you get some kind of a sense, the message of the dream, which, if you're religious, would be the Word of God. Okay? So, in that sense, that Word of God, that message, is as though you're looking back, just like Moses did when it says Yashir Moshe in the Exodus story. You're looking back over the events that have happened. You're exploding with emotions and whatever you're into there, and you're seeing what happened in terms of what has happened. It's somehow illuminated. It's not just me struggling with my rushing problem that I had at the beginning. It's rather that now that rushing problem, if that's what I was stuck in at the beginning, is merely one step, one name of God that I explored that led me to the ultimate integration that I'm calling the more encompassing name now, if you want to use that name metaphor. So this eye of God is this ability to look back and see the power, with the power of this new integrative experience, what you've been through as simply steps, part of your struggle to get to where you're at now. In what sense can I justify that? Well, if you think of the integrative experience as somehow jumping out of your skin and going from your everyday life into getting this pure idea from the macrocosm or something, from the world of Atzilut rather than and Beriah, rather than from the lowly world of Asiyah and Yitzirah. In other words, if you think in terms of the Kabbalistic 4 worlds, so you're using the 2 words, you're getting some insights from the higher world to help you understand what you went through in the lower world. That's what Nachman Brecht calls where the prophets suckle from, or that kind of idea. You know, the dew, they call it in the Kabbalah, the waters, the coming down. Anyway, so what's not authentic when you look back and you, let's say in your work on your therapy work, there was some element you did not deal with. Maybe you're still rushing. Even at the end, you still haven't learned how to slow down and really deal with what you're dealing with. Am I rushing now? I'm asking myself, well, maybe I am. So whatever hasn't, if this is we're talking about here, the wills of God, no, the mills of God, the wheels of God, grinding, you know, whatever hasn't been ground is still there, undigested stuff, clogging up the action, unused potential, you might say. So that's not going to stand up as a strong Gestalt in the eyes, with the wisdom of hindsight. It's not going to be the part of the action. That part of your powers are still unavailable. So in that sense, lo yatsuvu holalim neged inecha. The foolish part of yourself that didn't grow up yet is not going to be will not stand up as part of the strong Gestalt that's making your action more powerful now. So your action will, to that extent, will be less powerful, less convincing. As an actor, you'll be less creative because you still haven't learned how to deal with your rushing problem, for example. All right, next. Soneta kol poleaven. Yeah, God, in that sense, is not really loving, appreciating the evil stuff or the infantile stuff that you're stuck with. He doesn't take it seriously and doesn't integrate it as part of His Word, right? As part of the existential message you're getting, as part of the strong gestalts, the action that could happen. Okay, very good. Next. Later on in the same song, we get this sentence here. Hoshar, or Hayeshar, two readings here. Lefanai darkecha, ki ein befihu nechona kirbam havot. So it's kind of like a split sentence here with two different points of reference. First he's saying, keep your path straight before God. Keep your dialectic. Keep working without games. Be authentic. That's I've talked about that in the one about the video about Moses. As when he keeps his rod, as long as it's a straight rod, then he has the powers of the prophecy. But when he throws it on the ground, it becomes a snake. It becomes twisted. Or when he puts out his arm, he has this straight dialectic. And when he takes it down, the dialectic is not straight. So the metaphor of straightness here symbolizes pretty much, as much as I've seen it used, this idea of an unimpeded action, dialectic happening, thesis, antithesis, synthesis, one cycle after the other, in a more or less authentic search for truth. And so the instructions here is keep your path straight. And then it shifts over from a different point of view about a person that doesn't do that. A person that doesn't do that, ki ein befihu nechona. A person who doesn't do that, his mouth does not have in it bechona, nechona. The word nechona, nachon, means ready, prepared. He's not ready to do something. He's not fully involved in the action. Hamlet said, readiness is all. So, to the extent that you're not here and now involved in a situation, some part of your reality is missing. Maybe you're not seeing, maybe you're not hearing, maybe you're not involved in your feelings, maybe your fantasy is still a graveyard. To that extent, you're not ready for to complete the action. Ki ein befihu nechona. His mouth is not full of this readiness, ready to spew forth the word, all right, as a vessel. Kirbam havot. Their kerev, that's their insides, their midst, the person's, in a sense, his psychology is dialectic in this sense. I guess it means it's dialectic. The overall process of this guy is havot. In other words, ruins. Walter Benjamin, you like to use the idea of ruins. as showing the state of modern man's fall from the proper truth search here. This state of being infested with dibooks and games and all kinds of stuff like that, self-interruptions, is the state of how about ruins, being a wreck inside. Okay? So again, keep your dialectic straight, or keep your soul dry is another way of putting it. And if not, you're not going to be really ready for the action in your life. You're going to be like a nervous wreck, a neurotic. Okay, let's translate that. And the third quote I want to take here from Psalm number 5 is Ki ata tevarech tzadik Adonai katzina ratzon ta'atrenu. Now that's a big one. Let me translate that literally first of all. We have an important idea here. V'yaltzu v'cha ohavei shemecha. Now the naming, remember I've talked so many times about the naming. And what it says here literally is they will be joyful in you, God, the ones that love your name. Now love is relates to the idea of being in touch with something, contacting, you know, Adam loves Eve, contacts Eve. So the people that, those that are capable of a good contact boundary and working authentically, will have this explosion into true emotion, yaltzu v'cha, as they arrive at the word or the completed action. Since they are ones that love the naming process and are following the dialectic, the objective history, working through one beat after the other. First these two chairs, and then those two chairs, and then those two chairs. This process, endless process of contact and withdrawal, contact and withdrawal. Day and night is the way they call it in the Psalms here. So those that do that well will be joyful. Ki ata tevarech tzadik Adonai. And this blessing, that giving this person the insight, the final word, the message, the moment of truth, the breakthrough, the sanity, is a way that is a blessing that comes from that the righteous, the tzaddik, gets. The person that's the tzaddik is the one that stays in the middle pillar of tzedek. The tzaddik has tzedek. He stays in the middle pillar. He's in touch with the sephir of tzedek, which is the one of the integrated action, the one that relates to the balls and the decision-making process. Bring it all together. Okay. Ki ata tevarech tzaddik. God, you will bless the righteous person that stays in the center pillar. Now here's the key punchline here. Ki tzina ratzon ta'atrenu. Now tzina is a shield. Ratzon is will, desire. Ta'atrenu is to put a crown. Atar is a crown, to circle. So to encompass. So in this process, remember we already talked about in the last video we talked about the pure kiss process of surrendering. The person is reaching out, and Moses comes up on the mountain, and God comes down and to reach him. So they come together. The process of God kind of like anticipating as a magnet the final objective, the super objective, pulling the actor towards the final integration of the play. That's actually an Aristotelian point of view. This super objective thing. What do they call it? What's he called it? The actuality that's pulling the potentiality forward. So this will here the idea of ratzon, will, the will of God is pulling the person that's reaching out to God forward here and encompassing him with this overall moment of truth or the action. It wants the emerging action here, identifying with the coming solution. This coming solution is, and the person that identifies with it, surrenders to it, has faith in it. That overall will of God, ratzon, is like a shield which protects that person, encompasses him, and is like an anti-bullshit machine. Keeps the person away from his games, and keeps the keeps him stuck, it keeps him working with inductive logic so that he doesn't get trapped again into the deductive logic of all the different trips that he left behind further back there. So it's like a shield. It's like you stay in the river. Don't get stuck in the banks again. Just stay with the river. All right. Okay, so that's again. ויאלצו בך אוהבי שמך כי אתה תברך צדיק אדוני קצינה רצון תתרנו. They will be happy with you, God, that love your naming process, that stay in good contact with reality. Ki ata tevarech tzadik, you will give this blessing, this wonderful new message or word or growth experience to this person who's righteous, who stays in the middle pillar. And your magnet, your process of integration that's pulling this whole thing forward is like a shield which allows, with which you encompass this pilgrim here and protect him from getting sidetracked into all his shticks and going backwards. All right? Katrenu. Later on, we're going to see the idea of paz. But I will come to that later. Okay. Now, that took about 20 minutes. Now, number 6, Psalm number 6. I have how many? 2 quotes here. Rafaeli Adonai ki nivhalu atsamai. V'nafshi nivhala ma'od v'ata Adonai ad matai. Which means, literally, cure me, God, because I am astounded or nivhalu, confounded my atsamai. Now the key word here is atsamai. What's an atsamai? It's a plural for etzim, and the word etzim has many different meanings in Hebrew and implications. The one that's usually used in an ignorant translation of the Psalms is the bones. You know, and my bones are all messed up because of I got bone cancer because you didn't treat me right, something like that. But that doesn't make too much sense. No, I guess in those days maybe it made some sense, but to me it doesn't make much sense. But the word etzim has other meanings. And the more basic meaning, if I understand it correctly, is an essence. Etzim. Ba'atzmi is the essence. Ba'atzmi is by myself in Hebrew. In my essential self, in my one and only, as myself, in my real sense of myself, is one meaning. Etzim. The essences are the pure ideas, in a nutshell. If we think of macrocosm and microcosm, so the pure ideas, for example, the message that comes after 3 hours of work as the word and the message coming down, that, for example, this woman, I keep referring to Velbaka, that I should be with people more and not so much by myself. That idea is a pure idea that she got after working 2 hours on awareness, and that video has been seen by about 50,000 people so far, so I must have some credibility to it. Oh yeah. Rafaeli Adonai ki nifhalu atsamai. Okay, so my essences, my pure ideas are all messed up. That's exactly a way of saying that I'm stuck in the microcosm on the level of impure ideas rather than pure ideas. And impure ideas, and we talk about that these days as games. The self-interruptions. A person that's, for example, got an introject from grandma that infested his personality when he was 3 years old, or a person that's compulsive in body tension and everything, and can't get past that to get to any kind of contact with much of anything. These are examples of pure ideas, pure potentialities, pure possibilities that aren't functioning. They show up as holes, missing elements in the Gestalt work. Okay, so Rafaenu Adonai ki nifhalu atzamai. My essences, my basic sides of my personality are all screwed up. Okay? V'nafshi nivhala, I'm all screwed up. My soul is very much screwed up. V'ata Adonai ad matai. Okay, now here's an important idea. And God, and you, God, until when? In other words, hurry up, quick, get me out of this mess. Now, if that hurry up, quick, get me out of this mess thing is ad matai, until when do I have to wait for this stuff? Very important element here. If the waiting is part of a real surrendering to the action and being patient, and allowing yourself to just, like the first psalm talks about the fruit of this tree of life is going to come in its time when it's ready to give fruit. Then you will. It might take 5 sessions, 15 hours of Gestalt work before you get to finally being able to say goodbye to grandma or mother. That's the positive sense of ad matai, God. How much more do I have to wait? But the usual sense that it happens more usually is that a person starts off to work and they're rushing. They're in a hurry. They don't want to be here and now. They're always worrying about what's going to happen. They're planning, programming, and they're not willing to take the trouble to deal with each moment as it happens. That's the rushing problem that actors have and that anyone else has. Trying to control, the over-controlling control maniac, they call it in Gestalt therapy, that's trying to push the river and doesn't want to doesn't trust, for example, an actor is standing in front of the footlights is going to be tempted to rush the beats. The beats are the moments of dialectical truth there. And instead of waiting, instead of patiently staying in the moments and watching the scene partner and following the overall through line of the play here, that actor is going to worry, oh my God, the people are going to get bored, they're not going to like my acting, I better hurry up and say my line a little quicker, I better hurry up and say it a little stronger, or a little this, a little that, and start over-controlling the situation. Then that person is pushing the river and not waiting. So that's impatience, and that's a no-no. All right? So there are two senses of waiting here, very important, in the therapy and the performing arts. Another sentence here in sound number 5. Ashasha mikaas eni. Ataka b'chol tzorelai. Suru mimeni kol pole abed. Which literally means, it's actually 2 or 3 ideas together here. Ashasha, which means became dim. Mikaas, from anger or from excessive emotions. Eni, my eye became, I'm not seeing as well because I'm over-involved in my emotions. And if that isn't a beautiful example of Gestalt therapy, nothing is. People that, for example, a person that starts off a Gestalt session a lot of times happen that they're not in touch with the environment. They're just stuck in their body awareness, they're stuck in their fantasies, and they're not really seeing anything. They're not seeing me when I'm talking to them. They're not seeing the colors. The world isn't black and white for a lot of people. Because their anxiety, worrying about the stage fright, what's going to happen here, can I trust this guy, is this process going to work, I'm wasting my time, maybe he's going to rob my money, all these things are going on. And so the person's eyesight, or hearing, or any kind of potential is blocked from this anxiety, over-controlling again. Alright, so ashasha mikas enai, my eyes is dimmed from excessive emotion, from anger. Ataka b'chol tzorelai, I became old from all my enemies. Again, the word tzorelai refers so much to enemies, as though King David is surrounded by enemies on all sides. But if we look at this in a less chauvinistic way, we don't have to think about King David, we just think about anyone as surrounded by the different elements that prevent our functioning from happening. And those are the games all over again, those are the different shticks, for example, rushing. Rushing over controlling blocks the eyes, and so I became old from all of my enemies. I'm not functioning, I'm functioning like an old man. I'm not functioning like a healthy person, I'm kind of a cripple. because of all of my enemies, all my habits, which have become frozen, which are making me like an old man, even though I'm a young man. Okay. Suru mimeni kol polei aven, which means, depart from me, all workers of evil. So this is a little bit of insight here, even back 2,500 years ago, that a person somehow could be infested with divics, with some controlling element that's taking over the person's personality, you know, like a HIV invades a normal cell, or cancer invades a normal cell, and takes over the DNA and just turns that cell into an HIV machine or a cancer machine. So the same thing, these divics, introjects, they call them in Gestalt therapy, you know, whether it was mother, father, grandma, society. If you're Hitler, if you're a youth growing up in Hitler Germany, then it's the Hitler Youth movement that might even been a divic for you, that infested you. And so the healthy side of a personality is saying, please, rid me of all this this garbage here, ego garbage here that I've accumulated. Go from me, depart from me, all the workers of evil, all these rigid, inhuman reifications, becoming a thing instead of a person. All right? So there is the idea of introjection and exorcism right there, built into it. Okay, that's all right. Number 8, Psalm number 8. There are at least two major ideas here. Very important. The first quote is, "Ma adir shemecha b'chol haaretz, asher tanah hodecha al hashamayim, mipi olalim v'yonikim yisadeta oz," which translates as, "How mighty is your name, or the naming process, b'chol haaretz, in the whole world, asher tanah hodecha al hashamayim, that you give, or that gives your glory or your majesty on the heavens." And here's the key line here that I'm interested in here. Mipi olalim v'yonikim yisadeta oz. From the mouth of sucklers, tiny infants, and yonikim also means from the mouth of the infants, sucklers, yonikim, the ones that suck. Yisadeta oz, you established strength. Now that's very important. We just got through talking about how potential reifies becomes like dead habits, and here's the opposite. It's saying here, from the mouth of infants, God establishes His power. That's such a beautiful statement of pure awareness. To be able to see like a baby, to be able to play like a baby, to be free from the net of rational controlling habits that we learn. Now, of course, we need these habits. I'm not saying be a wild man. That's not the idea here. The idea is to get the proper balance, what Maimonides would call to be a prophet, what in Gestalt therapy they say to be a normal person. With the left side of the tree of life, that's your left side is over here. Your left side is over here. So the left side with the rational, the network of deductive logic we live in most of the time, and the intuitive, the right side is over here. So we need a proper balance, the middle pillar. Okay, here it is. So it's saying here that initially in the life of a person, from the mouth of these infants, God establishes power in that person's life. The person starts off in touch with reality. Kid, for example, finds that if he doesn't breathe, he's going to die. He's got to start breathing. So he's in touch with his body right away. And next thing you know, he sees some bright light, disturbs him. So he might start crying. And who knows what. These are basic primordial experiences that, of course, we forget them. But they teach us awareness from the beginning. We start off with lots of awareness, body awareness, unless of course we have some kind of built-in you know, I read recently that on the internet that autism begins even before birth. Well, maybe so some people don't have that a priori state of pure awareness at the beginning. But it would seem that, for judging from what I know about babies, that babies know how to be babies and not like adults. Okay, so Nipi Ololim V'Yonikim Yisadata Oz. From the mouths of babies, you establish your power. All right. So then, next thing here, Ma Enosh Ki Tisperenu. Uven Adam Ki Tifkedenu. V'techasrehu Ma'at Me Elohim V'chavod V'hadar Ta'atrenu. There's that word again, Ta'atrenu. We just saw it in the other preceding psalm. Encompass with kavod. Remember that the one that refers to contact, kovet, tangibility. With tangibility, with awareness, and hadar. Hadar is power, majesty. Ta'atrenu. You encompass. So it's encompassing truth source, pure idea coming out of the void, encompasses all the stuff that's less pure. Let's go back. Ma enosh ki tizkarenu. What is a man that you will remember him? Uven adam ki tifkedenu, that you will visit him. What is a man that you're going to visit him? And you made him a little less than a god. I think Shakespeare used some of that stuff also. And kavod ve'adar tatrenu, and this glory or contact, you're going to encompass him. Okay, there it is again. What is man that you will remember him and that you will visit him, and you somehow made him a little less than the gods, or maybe Shakespeare would have used angels or something, Elohim, and you're going to encompass him with. Okay, let's go into that a minute. Ma enosh kita tizkarenu. What is man that you will remember him? Now, certainly we don't know, if God remembers us, we don't know about that. But Plato made a big deal out of what he calls anamnesis, which is a very important way of thinking about reality. An means not. Amnesis is like amnesia, forgetting. So anamnesis is not to forget. What do we want to not forget? In other words, what do we want to remember? So there's a theory of learning in Platoism is learning is remembering. What does that mean, remembering? Remembering what I had for lunch yesterday? That way is learning? No, that's not learning. Learning, remembering more basic, going back to more and more basic ways of functioning, pure ideas. Again, working our way up on the intuitive side to get to the macrocosm, to the level of being like ideas in the mind of God. Okay? So in that sense, now, that is the process of anamnesis. And then in Gestalt therapy, they use the analogy of like peeling the onion to get to more and more, peeling away the ego crud, the games, to get to more and more prior, more and more original, pure ideas. And then we have the symbol of Judaism, a cultural metaphor. We have Abraham, Isaac as Jacob, as being metaphors, at least the way I see it, for the most basic dialectical principles of thesis, antithesis, synthesis. So Abraham is symbolizes the oneness. Isaac, the conflict, kill him, not to kill him, symbolizes the opposites, the opposite of oneness, being torn up, fragmented, and Jacob, the middle pillars, and that's on the left side of the tree of life. Your left side's over there. Yeah. And Yaakov, or the other name for Jacob is Israel, symbolizing the middle way. And of course, the rabbis want to make the point that the Jews, Israel, is got the proper truth balance. Every Jew is a mini prophet or something like that, and the rest of the world doesn't have that good stuff. Well, I'm not into that trip, like I said. But okay, where am I? I lost it. I'm in, whoops, number 8. Okay, so again, what is a man that you'll remember him? So it's really the idea is that what is a man? Isn't it amazing our powers of dialectical functioning here, that if we surrender to this river of experience that constitutes awareness and intuitive thinking, that somehow or other we're going to work our ways back by just allowing this process to happen. Somehow we're going to get back to that very pure level of functioning where the basic ideas and experiences of our lives, for example, we talked about saying goodbye to mother, the basic idea of learning how to cry when we grew up, we learn not to cry. Now we have to learn all over again to cry in a more free way, as an adult cries, not like as a baby doing a temper tantrum cries, but to experience pure grief as a pure idea of grief in a totally mature way. So that's going back to this, in a sense, the primordial sense of grief that a baby has, and it makes him cry. But without manipulating his mother, just to cry for the sake of expressing grief. All right? So, Maya Noshki Tizkarenu. So this is our power of being able to go back, to reverse the flow. So there's two elements to this dialectical process. There's the Platonic point of view of going back to origins, and there's the Aristotelian point of view of going ahead to the Mashiach, and basically they're both two ways of talking about the same thing, some ways of getting to more integrative, holistic experiences. All right? Well, again, the same thing idea. Every time a person does a Gestalt session or has a moment of awareness or truth, he's being visited by this overall encompassing message or word of God or something or other. It's a visit. It's a kiss, pure kiss again idea, that God is somehow or other pulling us forward and coming down from God and reaching out his hand, and meanwhile Moses is reaching out his hand and on the top of the mountain there, and they meet somehow or other. All right. And that's reality. Every moment of reality, that real reality, is a meeting of these two elements. And I think it's the second or third section of Likutei Moharan, the idea of the two birds. One bird comes from the object, and another bird comes from the person that's seeing the object, and they meet somewhere and have a boundary there where they meet, and in the sense it's Chokhmah and Bina. The pure idea comes out from the mind, and the bubble of awareness reflects that back. The sun flood and the moon reflecting it back, all these metaphors. And the moment where they meet, when they come together, that's the thesis, the antithesis, and the synthesis. That's a moment of reality, the moment of the two birds having an orgasm or something like that. And that's a moment of reality. So whether we're dealing with our inner body experiences, with fantasy experiences, or environmental experiences, this idea that the two elements is always an interaction like that, and that interaction creates the moment of reality. And that's all the reality there is. So that's the idea. We're constantly being visited by this holistic process. And we're just a little less than the Elohim, by the way, here is not, I don't read it as God, I read it as the pure ideas, the essences. So we have God, we have Adonai Eloheinu, God is the oneness, and God is all the different powers, and the integration of the one and the many and the one is this dialectical God, idea of God, identity and difference, if you're into Hegelian philosophy, the one and the many. That's beauty also, if you like Platonic aesthetics, So those are the tachas. So we are a little less than these pure powers, pure essences, pure ideas. All of these potential pure ideas, pure ways of functioning are clouded up, become habits, and so in that sense we're less than those part of pure, the ability to see, really see. We get becomes a blindness. We have holes instead of really seeing. We don't really hear. We're busy just hearing our own selves. We don't want to hear what the other person has to say. All of that stuff that they talk about in Gestalt therapy. In that sense, we're less than using our pure power, our pure potentials, our pure the powers or the pure essences. The same idea. So we're less than totally one in the many. We're less than beautiful. We're less than complete actions. Everything is partial. We're interrupting our actions all the time, and Gestalt therapy is an attempt to undo some of those interruptions. Okay, so v'chavod hadar teatrenu. That's the same idea again. So we're less than perfect. But we have all these blocked actions and potentials. So the idea of when we do a Gestalt therapy session, 3 hours, we're reaching out to identifying the solution, coming solution. And that meanwhile, God is reaching back to us, and so the meeting there, we're encompassed by, again, the same idea of the encompassing, before it was a shield, and now it's v'hadar, v'chavod hadar teatrenu. This time it's the kavod, the contact boundary. Saying the tangibility of contact is what encompasses us as we reach out to complete the action and protects us from the getting back into the net of deductive logic. There's the same idea of being encompassed again. Tatrenu, to the crown, the keter, you're crowning us. So this crown, if we think of the tree of life working way up back to the peak of the keter, the highest level, keter means crown. Later on we'll see that referred to as paz, pure gold. And if you look in a dictionary, you'll find there's the word in the English dictionary, you'll find pizzazz. What is pizzazz? It means the ability to be totally free and happy and lively and full of truth and getting creative ideas. The magical, the elf in the self. That's the pizzazz. That's is what encompasses a person that's creative. The actor, if he's working well, he has this what's called star quality. He's on top of his forms, getting all kinds of powerful ideas, and at the same time, this pizzazz, this crown, is projecting out there, and the audience sees that. I keep citing the example of once I went to the Metropolitan Opera, and there was Teresa Stratus, this terrific opera singer who knew something about acting, and she would look out there, and the whole huge miles and miles of audiences, and I was up in somewhere near the ceiling there, and I could feel the power of that woman's pizzazz, magical presence, stage presence, star quality, which is again showing that she knew how to work, to be on top of her material, and to work in the here and now, and illuminate what she was doing in a way that brought that message right out to the audience. Okay. That was finished off 8. I'm jumping up to Sar number 11 here. Okay. Konanu chitzam al yeter lirot b'mo ofel yishrei lev, which means they prepared. He's talking about the evil parts of the evil. In other words, think of our games here and our personalities. That they prepared konanu chitzam, their arrows, al yeter. Now there's the key word yeter. It could mean the bows, but there's another meaning for yeter that I want to come to. Lirot, to fire in the darkness to the straight of heart. Okay? Let's deal with that one for a moment. So now these evil parts of ourselves, in what sense are they drawing their bows? Well, there's another related meaning to the word yeta. We see it in Yitro, today in Yitro in the Exodus. It means excess. The word Hebrew is yoter midai, too much. The same root, yoter, yeter. So here, if we look at it as the word yeter meaning excess, then the whole thing has a much more profound meaning. Konanu chitzam, they prepared their arrows, al yeter, with excess. Lirot, in the darkness, to attack in the darkness the straight of heart. So these games that we play, by overdoing it, by reifying it, becoming habits that take over our, becoming dibuks that take over our functioning, our pure actions, so they're like sabotaging, we're sabotaging, interrupting our own actions that way, by overdoing it. Okay? You know, a person, for example, crying is a powerful, healthy impulse. But a person that cries you know, just on cue like a crybaby every time something goes wrong, even though the person is 60 years old, that's an example of overdoing it and interfering with the other response that would be more appropriate in that situation. Okay, so the next part sentence is, see, Ki ha-shatot ye-harasun, Tzadik ma-pa'al. The word ha-shatot, and the foundations will be destroyed. That's it. The foundations are the pure ideas, the pure essences, the pure actions are destroyed they're interrupted. Tzadik ma-pa'al. Oh, what happened to you, you righteous man? What you do? Adonai behechalo kadsho Adonai bashamayim kiso einav yechzu. We already talked about that and the idea of mocking your forms. God in His temple, His holy temple, Adonai, in the heavens, is in His throne. He's sitting in His throne. Einav yechzu. His eyes, He's looking. We talked about God sitting in the throne, mocking all the falseness, and on the other hand we talked about the eye of God looking back and seeing the power to see the truth, to illuminate experiences and learn from experiences. We saw all that happening. So here we're beginning to start. I can spend less time on these things because assuming you've looked at listened to the beginning of the video and the one before it, then you know if these things start being obvious. Einav yechzu. His eyes will see, will forecast the truth. Next quote is also still in number 11. Yamter al rishayim b'chaim esh v'gafri. He will rain down on the evil ones coals and fire and brimstone. Ruach zilafot, the wind of fiery storms, menat kosam. The wind of fiery storms will be the portion of their cup. Now the word cup is a very important symbol. We've talked about it already. The idea that, or maybe we'll get to it, I forgot which, but the idea that in a sense, a person's world is a cup. And God has, we talk about God, the fullness of God, my cup runneth over. In that sense that the divine light, the floods the everyday forms and illuminates them with the divine light. Okay, the idea of the brimming cup. Okay. The world and God and the fullness of it, the fullness of it is the macrocosmic ideas, the pure ideas flowing down freely in a creative way and illuminating the dead forms, the junk collage that we are everyday habits. Okay, so there it is. So Yamter al Rishaim. So He will rain down on them this fiery stuff. So we saw that in the mocking the forms. God in a therapy process, the 3 hours, one by one, these games of reified frozen habits are destroyed. They're illuminated. The negations of the one without a second are negated to restore the flow of the one and the many, right? And that negation of the negations is an element of cruelty here, of destruction. Of when a person, from the point of view of a person's games, for example, the crybaby game, the director is going to help the person realize that he's making a fool of himself by using his crybaby game when he's 60 years old. But from the point of view of the crybaby that person at 60 years old still is, that's very cruel to hear, to have to face that. Another example I'm thinking of is somebody works and discovers discovers the world of fantasies, my childhood fantasies. Here I am released from my childhood fantasies. But the moment I'm released from my childhood fantasies, I look around and I see, oh my God, all the bills I gotta pay, and oh my God, am I gonna have the children, or I'm not gonna, maybe I'm too old to have children or something, I don't know what. So that blocking out of the fantasy zone was an important crutch that that person uses to get through his life, and suddenly to have to deal with not having that crutch and having to face the fact that here I am squelching my basic, most creative infantile emphasis and regarding them as childish instead of respecting the flow of pure ideas from my soul here, is a cruel experience. It's like, well, what do you mean? What can you call it, therapy? You just taught me to be miserable. I was happy ignoring my fantasy life, and all of a sudden you release this flow of images, and now I'm miserable. Well, what am I going to do? I don't know what to do. So that person moved up to the next level. What am I going to do about it? But at least the person is in touch with some of the reality there. Okay, so in a sense, the therapist and the therapy is raining a pile of some negative energy down to destroy a lot of stuff that should be destroyed, negating those negations, which restores the oneness of the one without a second, giving God back His authority, letting Him run the show rather than you trying to run it with your filters, filtering out half of your life by blocking out your fantasy zone. Okay, so that takes care of 11. Now we're up to 12. Psalm number 12. We got time for this? I'm not sure if we do. Let's see. All right, we got 10 minutes here for this one. Let's see if we can do this. Number 12. Shav yidaber ish et re'ehu sofat chalakot. Belev valev yidaberu. Yachret Adonai kol siftei chalakot lashon yidaberet gedolot. Okay, we're talking about two kinds. This is one very important. In Gestalt therapy, there's a major distinction between verbalizing and poetry. And so on the one hand, verbalizing is a person whose words and flow of language is a slave to basically his games, avoiding the action of life rather than being words which express the action of a life. When a person is involved in some important moment of truth and dealing with something very important, for example, fighting a war or making love to his wife, something that is very essential, and the language that comes out of his mouth is serving the action. That's poetic language. That's language used to express reality. But the other kind of language is just verbal diarrhea that pours out, in most cases, social situations or manipulative situations, whether we're aware of it or not. We're just being slaves to this other kind of language. So that's what this is about, the distinction here. And Shav yidaberu ish et re'ehu. A man is talking vanity nonsense to his friend. Sofat chalakot, just smooth talking, smooth, slick talking. Belev alev, half-hearted yidaberu. Belev alev is half-hearted yidaberu. He speaks. What does God do? Yachret Adonai kol siftei chalakot. God's going to cut out all of these evil speakers. Lashon medaberet gedolot. The people that talk in an exaggerated, stilted, distorted, manipulative language are going to be just cut off. God's going to cut them off from His. What does that mean? Cut off. In other words, the person himself is going to be lost because we get trapped in the words ourselves. So a person thinks he's fooling the world by trying to sell everybody a used car, but really the one he's fooling most is himself because he gets lost in the process of selling used cars and doesn't know what it's like to tell somebody the truth anymore. We get hypnotized. All right, so that's the first part of the number 12. The second part is the opposite of that. It says here, Amirot Adonai Amarot Adonai Amarot Tohorot. God speaking is pure. Kesef Tzaruf Ba'alil. Silver which is purified in a crucible. La'aretz mizukak shiva time, which is purified 7 times in a crucible. Now, each time a person goes through this process of thesis, antithesis, synthesis, you know, the descent for the descent of ascent, they call it the rhythm of contact and withdrawal. I get stuck in the 2 opposites, and then I close my eyes and go inside. Each time I get stuck, that's like going down, going backwards. And then when I go inside and get the new idea, I come out and I get energy to go forth for another cycle. We're going to talk about how the sun setting forth on another cycle. So it's a day-night rhythm all over again. So each time that process there, Amirot Adonai Amorot Torah. God's word, when it comes out through the three hours of Gestalt therapy session, the word of God, the message at the end, is pure. It's like silver, which is purified in the crucible 7 times. Because if in the course of 3 hours I work through my relationship with my dog, with money, with my girlfriend, with my mother, who knows what, and I work through 7 cycles to get to some truth in my life. Each time, that is an alchemy process of going through water to earth to air to the void, the new void, and the fire, the new idea that comes out of the fire. It's 7 cycles of the alchemy, 7 cycles of the spiraling dialectic that leads up towards the integration, and getting the proper balance. And the word 7 is just purely, they like to use the word 7 a lot in the Kabbalah, 7 worlds, 7 this, 7 that, 7 days. Okay, so there it is. We have 2 kinds of language, manipulative language and language which serves the overall action, God's will, if you want to talk about God, or the existential action, if you want to call it that, or the phenomenology of the spirit, of the river, however you want to talk about it. The proper balance between induction and deduction. So language which serves the action is pure poetry, poetic action. And poetry which embodies human action is very convincing if we take it seriously. But poetry which is just simply a bunch of words, some kind of intellectual exercise, some kind of, trip to be famous, like a bad actor on the stage. We don't... Stage action, when it's done well, is poetic action, because it symbolizes, it shows us right there how the actor in his own life has recreated the action of the author had put into the play. And so, and it resonates with some action in our own life. So there's another example of poetry versus verbiage. Good acting versus bad acting.